Just listen to me, filibuster vigilantly. So yeah, I haven't used this for live videoing, and this will do a few things. One is that I have my iPhone set up with screen limits because I don't like looking at Facebook a lot. And Facebook is definitely designed and works for me in that way that I could be interested in looking at something, and then 3 hours have gone by and I've been clicking on shit and watching cat videos and reading horror stories about politics, and I don't like how that feels. So I've set up these things called screen limits. This is really not good lighting, I understand that, but I'll fix it in a minute. I've set up these things, no, I'm naked. I've set up these things called screen limits that, wow, that was kind of cool, but it didn't really make the lighting better on my face. So every 15 minutes, my screen goes white and it says, you've reached your limit for this page. Do you want to ignore this limit for 15 minutes or for all day? In order to do these live videos, I have to turn that off. And I've been finding that I get lost in Facebook a little bit more than I want to. So, I want to broadcast from my page for two reasons. My page, I can't surf Facebook, so I don't have to worry about getting lost in Facebook if I turn off the screen limits. And I'm running out of friends on my friend spaces on my regular timeline, which is really the reason I created that whole page thing in the first place. So we're gonna go down, and I'll turn this. We're gonna go down some stairs. So again, this is me leaving my room. Past the strange wooden things. There are these stairs here that go down to this area. So you can see this area. But look at these stairs. They're very, very narrow, like a Dutch staircase. They're missing a step, and the rails are pretty wobbly. So I was very frightened about doing this, but I've seen a couple people do it, so then I started doing it. And I'm still cautious. Okay, so now I'm in the area below my rooms. My room's up there. This is what this looks like down here. Has a nice view of the beach. The lighting is not as good as up in the hurricane house, nor is the background as dramatic, but it's okay. It's okay. And okay has to be enough right now because we are in the time of not getting everything we want, right? We're in the time of not getting everything we want. Once upon a time, we could somehow expect to get everything we want. And now that time is not now. Look, this is what you can see from walking down here. You got this cliff thing. I, of course, climbed up here once because I'm like that, up to there. See all these trees? They scratched me up a lot. This, if you watched my walk across the beach, this is the tunnel that the waves come through. And if I stare the camera at it long enough, you will see possibly a big burst of water through there. One time, I climbed around the rock from the other side and climbed around down here to this beach. I went all the way over here because there's this cliff here. I don't want to climb down that cliff, but I went around here, and right on the other side of this point, there's a blowhole. So if you read my long plague journal piece, I was talking about this crazy bass thunder rumble in the mountain that I sleep on. And I think it comes from that blowhole around the corner here because waves go in there and just like shoot out rainbows, and it's pretty cool, but it is loud. There you go. There's a big wave going through the tunnel. A big wave going through the tunnel. So this is beautiful, right? This weird bowl underneath my room. Can't go swim in there. Too many rocks. Waves just smash you to pieces. You'll notice that the water's kind of green as opposed to blue, which would be nice. But a friend of mine in LA told me it's been raining a lot there for like a week. And I noticed the water here got cold. And I imagine that all that rain washed down the cold water. So this isn't perfect. Nothing's perfect. We're going to try out some things. Try out some varieties. I'm going to turn this chair around. We're going to tell a story. Hi, Dominic. What have you been up to? Oh, some drama. Because, there's always drama. I don't think I will go through the catalog of injuries unless anybody's just like, oh, tell me how sour the milk is. I want to hear it. Because, what you guys want to hear is how nice it is that I'm free in this beautiful place. So, if I do this so you can see the background, I'm just really dark. It's okay, you don't need to see me. You can see the silhouette of me. I mean, there are some of you watching so you can say, no, Dominic, we want to see you. We don't care about the waves behind you. But I think the waves behind me are more interesting, probably. It smells kind of gross down here. There's a lot of birds and iguanas and stuff hang out down here. And when the German guy was here, he was throwing all of his food scraps down here, which made... Oh, say again, where am I? Hi, Roy. I am in Mexico, on the Pacific coast, the southern Pacific coast, in the state of Oaxaca. This is a beautiful bay called the Beach of Death, and the waves have a history of killing people. There's a tide, a current that goes from that side to here and sweeps you out to sea. So one of the myths is they used to put their dead bodies in the beach and the waves would take it out to sea. So when I first started swimming here, I was like, am I going to be allowed to swim here or is it going to kill me? And every time I got into the sea, I would say, please don't kill me, to the waves. Because as my friend who just signed on, Kelly, can attest, I walked across Spain and then I let the Atlantic Ocean almost kill me. And I was a bloody mess and couldn't walk. I have a really nice scar on my toe, but you wouldn't be able to see it so far. Yeah, it is beautiful. So that's, despite it being a beach of death, it's beautiful. I was looking for a better place to teach my yoga class because they don't want me to do it up there in the hurricane house because they're control freaks or whatever. And that's just fine. But how is the volume down here? Are the waves louder? I'm always sound checking, forgive me. You can hear me okay, it seems. Nobody's complaining that the waves are too loud. They're like, Dominic, just be quiet. Let us listen to the waves. So yeah, I've been here almost 2 months. I arrived here on the 16th of February. Thank you, Roy. I arrived here on the 16th of February, and oh yeah, I created a little live video from my main account to tell people to come over here. So I'm just reminding you, if you're watching this video, I think if you tap the video, there's little 3 dots that come up amongst other options in the upper right side, which may actually be over here. I should watch that. If you touch the 3 dots, you can select follow when he goes live. Just if you want to see when I go live. I sometimes go live in the morning to show the sunrise. I don't usually do a lot of talking then. I did walk along the beach once, but I can't really do that now. We're in severe lockdown. We're even more lockdown than I was that day. I've been trying, well, I know I have succeeded in going online to do a live video every day at 6:30 for the last week. And I think I'm just going to keep doing that. That's nice. Hi, Roy. Hi, Jonathan. So today, there are these guys that arrived here about 2 weeks ago, just as I was getting over my COVID thing, I imagine. I think I'd gotten over it a couple days before they showed up. My little COVID infection, sweating, aching situation that some of us get to have and survive. And some of us don't even notice, but anyway. They showed up and I asked them if they liked Qigong, and I started teaching them Qigong every morning. So I've talked about that a little bit. And it was funny, one of them, when I complained about the woman who manages this place, because I thought she was kind of a passive-aggressive wench, and she made me feel really bad. She repeatedly did things that made me feel really bad. And again, I'm not going to go into the whole catalog of injuries here. he was like, yeah, I don't have any problem with her. I just talk with her and I relate to her and everything's fine. But he had only paid her for a week and she had offered him a special rate for staying for a month. And so she asked him if he'd pay the rest of the money, and he's like, well, I'm not sure if I want to stay here that whole time. And she was like, well, you said you'd stay here for a month. So he paid the rest of it. And then he found a place that was cheaper, that let us use our kitchen, that he had a kitchen. She wouldn't let us use the kitchen. And one day she just turned off the Wi-Fi because she decided she was tired of paying for it, or just didn't want us using it or whatever. She didn't talk to us about it. She didn't give us an offer to pay more. She just turned it off. And they were depending on it because they don't have SIM cards, which I have a SIM card, which is one of the reasons I'm doing Facebook Live, is that I have unlimited Facebook because net neutrality is gone. I keep saying that because people are like, oh, what does net neutrality mean anyway? It means that you can have unlimited Facebook, and that's the only thing that works fast on the internet unless you pay more. So I can pay 15 pesos and get 2 hours of everything on the internet being fast and unlimited, but the rest of the time it's just Facebook is fast and unlimited. So yeah, he said, oh, I don't have any problem with her. But when he decided he was going to leave, not only did she say, oh, well, I'll give you your money back, but then you're not allowed to be in Zipolite anymore because I'm going to call, oh, I said the name of the town. Then you're not allowed to be in this town anymore because I'm going to call the cops and tell them that you violated the rules and that you will have to leave. And he was like, what? And she was like, so you should probably just stay here. And if you're going to stay here at the rate you're staying, you know, you really need to start doing work for me, about 3 hours a day, not too much. And he was just like, whoa. So then he realized that she was indeed kind of a crazy, passive-aggressive, manipulative person. And we got into this whole drama spiral. So today we went and talked to the cops just to verify. If he leaves here, does he have to leave this town? Does he have to leave Mexico? Because like nobody would take anybody in. And they were like, no, that's not a problem. Don't worry about it. So I had a nice dramatic day of walking up and down the beach, talking to other places. Nobody should be allowed to rent out rooms to other people at this point, but various people I've talked to here have moved into new locations. So I'm like, even though this is an amazing view, feeling bad and kind of frightened, because if any of you watched the video where I did the yoga class, halfway through, it was glorious, it was beautiful, it was really great, I was really open, I think I had just done these like heart-opening movements, and her husband or boyfriend or whatever came out and screamed at me because he thought I shouldn't be where I was. And I was like, wow, I just don't feel comfortable. And I noticed that everything I did after that, I felt scared. And you know, that's just what trauma is. And all of us right now are a little on edge anyway, so it's kind of even easier to be traumatized. I say this because it's very important to be kind to ourselves and respect our emotional body when it freaks out. Like there's a certain amount of like skillfulness you can have about your emotional body if you meditate or do Qigong, but then there's also just sometimes you're freaked out, and all you can do is wait and be patient and be kind and try to soothe and comfort yourself because you're in a panic or a freak out, and there's no like wiseness that can happen from there until everything cools down. And that's just an important thing to know. If you or a friend acts really inappropriately during this indiscriminate time of whatever we're going through, just try to give them as much space as you can, which sometimes means don't talk to them, giving space, but sometimes means holding space for them to let them freak out at you and cry and scream or whatever and call you, say horrible things, and just kind of be like, I love you anyway, but I'll talk to you later. And you know, that's a way of holding space for them. Emotional intelligence. It's very pretty though, isn't it? But in the walk today, one of the nice things that happened when I was coming back, I talked yesterday in the video about the sexuality that I had not been feeling an erotic drive at all for almost 2 weeks, if not more, maybe more than 2 weeks. The last time I had engaged erotically, it was with an old fuck buddy from New York City who, his whole style of sexuality is not about being present. His whole style of sexuality is about being engaged in role play. And it's always the same role play. He has very specific fetishes. And kind of being with him or being with him on camera is the same thing. It's just kind of like, he just wants me to, he wants me to say his fetish, which I don't exactly know what it is. I don't get it. I don't care. And I always find it frustrating. Even though I find him physically very sexy, I don't actually get to be with him, because being with him means I have to pretend to be someone else, with someone else, doing something else. And that is just not how my sexuality works. For some people, it is. So that was the last time I had engaged with anybody's sexuality, and it left me with such a bad feeling about sex in general. And actually, like, just what we're going through right now, I was looking at Twitter, because I have two Twitters, and one is just kind of an echo. Hi, Michael. One of them is an echo of my Facebook, and I occasionally post things on there, but mainly it's so I follow news stories and artists and things that I'm interested in. And then the other Twitter is just kind of a Tumblr refugee thing, where I still sometimes post some sexual pictures like I used to on Tumblr, but I follow all the Tumblr refugees and the other like Twitter sex people, which unfortunately a lot of them are just OnlyFans. So they'll just post all these pictures. They're like, you can give me $24 for a month of all my porn. And I know I could do that, but for some reason I'm wired differently, and I'm just like, you guys can give me money if you want, but you can also just look at these pictures, because there's a part of me that believes that the pictures have at least some potential for healing. I love the idea of people being trapped indoors, especially right now, but mostly people are trapped indoors in their life anyway, and sitting at a computer, which is like the altar of the screen, and then they start masturbating, as men tend to do. Or I don't know if women masturbate to porn on the internet as much as men do, but I certainly know men do. And then they might see a picture of me out with in the jungle or the forest with vines everywhere, or a waterfall, or the Grand Canyon, or what's the other one that I really love? The volcanoes behind me. And they'll be like, yeah, that's really hot. Oh, that's a hot cock. That's a hot ass. And then they're like, wow, what beautiful nature. And maybe it's even subconscious, which is better. It just kind of gets into their thing. And I've had a lot of people contact me over the years, and they're like, man, I want to be wild and free like you. I want to be out in nature like you. And I'm like, do it. Take your clothes off and be one with nature. Like, make love to nature, make love to yourself with nature, in nature, as a friend of nature. So it's kind of propaganda. So that's one of the reasons I want as many people to see it as possible. It's kind of like, get out of your house and go be naked, which is why I'm staying on a nude beach. I'm very grateful. It's kind of a bummer, although there's people surfing right now, and there's people walking the beach, so the police are just bored, or hopefully they're at home with their families, because I don't know what the heck Holy Saturday is called, but it's Holy Saturday. Tomorrow is Holy Sunday, Easter. And I don't know when Passover is, but Shabbat Shalom. It's still Shabbos right now. So yeah, today had these, that's what I was getting to, sorry, was when I was walking back up the beach and asking all these hotels. There was one hotel that somebody told me I could get a cheap room at, and they said, no, we're not renting anything, we're totally closed. I was like, okay. But right next to it, the hotel next to it, there was a man sitting in a hammock playing with his dick, naked. And I was like, oh. And he was a guy who I had seen on the beach many times while I've been here, but I mostly saw him with groups of heterosexuals. I mostly saw him talking with groups of men and women. I did see him go to the Playa de Amor, which is where guys tended to cruise and play around at night, but he always left before sunset, which is usually when the action starts, is when it starts to get dark. So I just had the impression that he was somebody I found attractive, and like most of the people I found attractive here, they were straight. It's just tense. It's not that I'm attracted to the unattainable. I guess we all are, but it's not that I'm attracted to the unattainable or attracted to straight men in like a homophobic way, but that the type of body that turns me on, they weren't the gay ones that were here. They weren't the gay ones that were here. The gay ones that were here were more like slim, fit, you know, and I like more stocky, round. So this guy was like stocky and furry. And I had seen him many times. We'd made eye contact, we'd waved at each other a couple times. So he was sitting in this hammock kind of playing with his dick, and I walked up and I started talking to him, and I'm sure you felt this before, but this is the reason I wanted to tell this story from today, was there was a lot of stress and tension, and then there was this moment where there was this guy I'd noticed being attracted to many times, but respected what I imagined were his boundaries because I thought he was a straight guy and never approached him. And as soon as we started talking to each other, I felt like a wave of sexual energy come from him. And like I said, I hadn't had a hard-on. I hadn't had any sexual erotic energy for almost 2 weeks. And I felt this like hit me and just go up my spine. And I hope that you guys know what I'm talking about. I mean, in the world of gay cruising, there's this idea of gaydar, and then there's this sense of what cruising is. And this is kind of what cruising is, but we weren't exactly cruising at this point. We were just open, and I guess we had been kind of flirting for almost 2 months anyway. So it was just, there was this like open thing. I was with this straight Italian kid that I had been walking the beach with, trying to find a place to stay. But I felt this wave of just like really friendly sexual energy come from him. And again, I found him physically, superficially very attractive. And it was it was one of those like count your blessing moments when I felt how good it felt in my body to feel erotically charged in an authentic way, not relating to a screen, not even relating to desire. At that point, there was no desire. I had desired him many times, but he was just there, and I was there, and he was someone I had a authentic attraction and openness to on that level. That's for some reason how I'm wired. I love that type. He's like, in his either late 50s or early 60s and chubby and hairy and doesn't have a beard, but that's right. And he just smiled, and it's not something like we had to question. Although I said, I had been assuming you're straight. Are you gay? And he said, and I was like, oh, okay, that's fine too. And he was like, yeah. But when we started talking, it was very clear that he was not green or experimenting or anything. I just washed my hair. It's wet. Jumped in the sea, I swam around. So yeah, I decided not to leave. I came back here. The drama kind of unfolded with the guy who, again, he wasn't having any trouble with her. And oh yeah, the guy down there, we did say we'd meet up later. But I saw him on the beach and he said, oh, do you want to meet tonight? And I said, I haven't slept well for 3 nights because when she gave me the new sheets for my bed, because sometimes I have to really drag it out of her, but this last weekend, a couple days ago, it was Wednesday or something, she was like, oh, you wanted new sheets, right? I'll give you some sheets. And I was just like, that's amazing, because she just had not been present, and I usually had to like pull teeth to get anything out of her. And I just had the experience of the last sheets she had given me. She had forgotten to give me pillowcases, and I asked her for pillowcases 3 days in a row, and she just never gave them to me. She kept saying she would, but she didn't. And then I just stopped asking. So I had to spend a week not sleeping on a pillow because these pillows are gross and old. So she just handed me the sheets, and I was like, great. And I made my bed. I shook out the sheets first. I made my bed. And every night since then, I've had ants crawling all over me. Now, there is an herb used in Indian cooking a lot called hing or asafoetida. When I first encountered this, it was pitched as an Ayurvedic sattvic spice to replace garlic and onions, because garlic and onions are rajasic, meaning that they heat your body up and they make your mind really active and your body want to be active. And when you are meditating, you want your mind to be calm and you want your body to be calm. So if you're eating a diet to facilitate stillness and peace and meditation, you don't want to eat rajasic foods. You want to eat sattvic foods. So I was making some sattvic food. And asafoetida, I believe, is from the Latin for fetid smelling root, which means it smells a bit like rot or something that has gone foul. When I did research about this on the internet, they talked about how it had culinary uses, that when you fried it, it had a taste like garlic or onions, but when you just took the root, if you just took the root, it was used a lot in voodoo Umbanda, African cultures, but specifically like how it had manifested in the United States, like from New Orleans and that whole thing, for black magic. Had a big history of black magic, and I remember just being like, wow, this spice that I'm using in this Indian dish is somehow related to like voodoo black magic. And one of the things they said that they would do with it was if they had a guest that they didn't like, this is specifically what I remember reading, if they had a guest they didn't like, they would hide the root in their room and it would make the guest leave because it smelled bad. But even if it was just a subtle smelling bad, the magic of the root was that it would get rid of unwanted guests. And it is interesting, if you buy it in an Indian grocery store, it's got a very unpleasant smell, but if you cook with it, it tastes good. And it smells nice when you fry it too. It's very pungent. You only need a tiny bit of it. But then it also talked about how you could sprinkle the powder. If you just had the powder, you didn't actually need the root. And then there was some use of it in voodoo dolls as well. You could tie it up, bind it and stuff for voodoo dolls. So when I was woken up by ants the first night, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Do I have ants all over me? They weren't biting me, but if you can just imagine what it's like to be woken up in the middle of the night with ants crawling all over your body. Not a pleasant sensation. But hey, tropical realness, right? I thought something happened, I don't know. I don't eat in my bed. So I was just like, wow, I don't know what's going on. I had put my mattress out to be in the sunshine because I had noticed some mites, and I thought maybe if the mattress aired out a little bit, I'd beat the mattress, just trying to spruce it up a little bit. Everything's here is pretty dusty and old. But then the second night it happened again, but not as bad, and I was like, okay, that'll be fine. Last night was terrible, just horrible, like totally covered with ants, and they were in my hair, like all these ants crawling through my hair, and I was like, what is going on? And I woke up in such a panic that my first thought was that she had somehow like wrapped the sheets in food, or wrapped food in the sheets for a couple days before giving them to me, and that's why she was so forthcoming in giving them to me, because she had prepared them to be irritating somehow. Like this was some, this could be some traditional Mexican way to get rid of guests, So when I had this whole drama with her today, I was like, do you actually want us to be here, or would you rather have us leave? And she was like, oh no, I don't want you to leave. And I was like, but I've paid up through the end of next week, and she's not going to give me my money back anyway. And it's a gorgeous view, so I'll just put up with more passive aggression until I get to leave, or maybe I'll just stay until the end of the month, or, if any of you were like, hey Dominic, come and stay with me, I'll fly back up to America and stay with you. I don't know. I didn't want to come back up to America until it got warm, but then it occurred to me, I was like, well, I could just go to Arizona or Southern California, Palm Springs, whatever, and go be like somebody's live-in masseur and Qigong coach for a couple weeks or months. Nobody's supposed to leave their house, so we may as well order in, right? So that's mostly what's happened today. I did see this man who wanted to meet me tonight, and I was like, I haven't slept well for a couple days, and seeing that I haven't had sex I haven't had sex in like a month, but I haven't even had any sexual energy or ejaculate or anything in 2 weeks. I'm like, I don't feel like I need to rush it. This isn't about a quickie situation for me. It's about me really savoring it. So I'd rather actually be well rested. And today I walked like 8 miles because I went all the way from one end of town to the other end of town to do shopping and talk to the police and all these other things. So I was like, it might be better if I sleep well tonight. And I have a second bed up there that smells really dusty and gross, but I'm going to try sleeping in that and see if I get covered in ants again or not. Thank you for the love, Bob. Anyway, I saw him down in this little cove, and I went down and jumped in the water, and then I talked with him and this other man, and one of the kids that I'm teaching Qigong with, he's like, I don't like talking to anybody right now, because anytime you talk to anybody, all they want to talk about is this virus situation and the world situation and the fear and the panic and the worry, and I just don't want to talk about that. And I'm like, I'm totally with you. So we're down there and we're talking about this panic situation, and we're talking about how most people don't even know they have it, and most people are in denial about it being here. like right now there's this idea that it's not here yet and they want to keep it out, and that's just totally insane because I'm sure it's here. I've heard so many people coughing. I've heard people like describe the symptoms, and then I said to them, I'm pretty sure I've had it myself, and both of them were like, and I was like, no, I'm over it. And they're like, hey man, it's up to 2 weeks before it's out of your system. And I was like, that's the quarantine length. It's up to 2 weeks before symptoms start showing, and then your body has to deal with it. I don't know how long it takes after your body deals with it for you to be non-contagious or safe. But as far as I understand how viruses work, that when you first get it and you get symptomatic, you're very contagious because it's proliferating terribly through your body, and then your body figures out how to deal with it, or you die, or your body figures out how to deal with it, and by the time that your body figures out how to deal with it, you're no longer contagious. You're not well yet. You usually have a few days before you're well, but you're still not contagious in the later parts of a sickness. So I was like, man, my sickness was over 2 weeks ago, so I'm not contagious now. But they were both like, well, I don't know. So then this guy I had this authentic erotic connection with. He might be afraid I could kill him. I don't want to kill you. But I was 99.8% sure that this virus wasn't going to kill me, for better or worse. I'm not worried about that, but I certainly would never want to hurt anyone else. So that's today's story. Now, you can ask me, you have a little window of time now where you can ask me to tell another story, or tell any story, or whatever. If nobody asks me to tell a story or talk on a certain topic within a few minutes, I am going to do some Qigong, demonstrate some Qigong. And then when I post this video, I'll put the time code in that says, well, the Qigong starts here, and the storytelling goes till here, right? So if you guys want me to talk about anything specific, or you have any questions, you can ask. And if you liked yesterday's video, I hope some of you got to see yesterday's video. If you didn't, you should. It was me talking about how to redirect your sexual energy when you're in forced celibacy anyway, as opposed to just masturbating all the time. Because there's other things you can do with it, which I have been very grateful to have this time to work with that. And have a little trepidation about spending my energy, but it's fine. I've been doing a lot of Qigong. Okay, so the Qigong, I'm going to move to this location over here, and this chair isn't actually the best. Check this over here. I think there's better light over here, which is why I'm going over here. Maybe the background's not going to be as awesome, but we're going to try it out. Gonna mount this camera. Hi, Mike, I love you. Mike, I'm just about ready to teach some Qigong. So if you'd like to do some Qigong, you can make some space in your room. All you got to make sure is that you can squat and you can swing your arms without knocking anything over, because it's not a super energetic thing, or it's energetic, but it doesn't require tons of energy and it doesn't require tons of space. I want you to be able to see my feet. Let's try this. Hey, Richard. Love you. Ricardo. Okay. So let's see. If I stand here, my head is slightly being cut off. But there's much better light than there was in that other situation. This looks pretty nice, right? This is a nice view. It's kind of a beautiful. We're gonna try this out. Check out my sarong skirt here. Not ideal, not good for yoga, but worth a try. So, if you've been sitting for a long time, or you haven't been moving much, we're going to start with a simple, I hope this is not a complicated movement. I hope you can hear me okay? But I just want you to stand up. Again, make sure, oh, see, this is bad. This is not good for me to do Qigong. Step forward a little to get away from that. And just move this back more. There we go, that's okay. Yeah. There we go. It's a little better. So we just start with this kind of movement. And again, mainly it's about waking up the legs. So you can move any way you want. You can shake your shimmy, but just kind of move gently, actually. That's what I like. Maybe you can do some knee flexion. This is good balancing practice, even though it's pretty simple. You can hold on to something if you need to. If you have any logs around your room, or tables, or chairs, or walls. Then we're going to do this movement. This movement, I like to tell the story. There was this 70-something-year-old monk I met last year in Thailand who started having back pain, because when you're meditating all the time, it really hurts your back. And he went to a doctor and they wanted to do a surgery. He didn't want a surgery. And he went to a Tai Chi master, and the Tai Chi master said, well, you can learn this set. It's 126 movements, and it will surely fix your back. And he said, I don't want to learn 126 movements. I don't have time for that. And then a Qigong guy was like, just do this 1,000 times a day and it'll fix your back. This doesn't require any teaching to do this movement. Just do it. Do it any way you want. You play with it. It's just swinging your arms. Rotate your hands any way you want. In that Asian monk way, he did this 1,000 times a day and fixed his back. He's in his 80s now, but he was home. He's got this 1,000 times a day. I don't know how long it takes to do 1,000 times a day. I haven't tried, and I'm sure I would have difficulty counting to 1,000 if I was using no concentration. But if you spend your entire life meditating, no problem counting to 1,000 and swinging your arms. Anyway, move from this into this technique. So again, you might want to start slowly, but you want your legs to be well grounded. It's kind of nice if your toes are pointing forward so you have a good foundation. You can open your knees a little bit and curl your tailbone down. That makes your spine straighter, which is better for a spine. You want to let your neck turn with the twist. And after warming it up so it feels like it's starting to just be loose, I want you to direct where the hands hit the body at the navel and at the same spot in the middle of the back behind the navel. So it looks like this. Keep doing that, but I have to not be turning my head in order for you to hear me. Tapping your belly and back like this helps open it in a Qigong kind of way. You can be a little aggressive with your body. It also reminds you to tighten up your belly a little bit. Tightening up your belly isn't just pulling it in, it's also pushing it out. So that's a little weird, I understand. There's a really nice breathing exercise where you breathe in and pull your navel in, and then breathe out and push the whole abdominal wall out. Not just this, but this and this. That takes practice, but it's something you could sit down, see if you can count to 1,000, and breathe in by pulling the navel in, and breathe out by pushing the abdominal out. Notice how differently that looks than breathing in, letting it fall. Breathing in, relaxing. That's okay, but it's not nearly as good as breathing in, pushing out. If you like imagining things, part of the reason they do this is believing that the fetus got all of its nutrients through the navel, and the navel continues to be an orifice and an organ for receiving energy and nourishment from the universe when you're an adult. And if you breathe like that, you imagine you're pulling energy into the navel. And when you tap it, when you're spinning, if you have an engaged core, it doesn't hurt. If your belly's really soft, it doesn't hurt, but it doesn't feel nearly as good as if you're engaged. So for me, it's a way of helping me remind myself to engage my core. After that, we're going to go into some stillness, so relax. Put your attention into your tailbone. So if you don't know anatomy, you imagine the bottom of your spine next to the sacrum at the last lumbar, right at the top of the hip bone. The sacrum's like a big, it almost looks like a turtle shell. Massive fused bone that fits between your hips. Then at the bottom of the sacrum is a little flexible bone. It's like the last vertebrae, flexible bone. That's called the tailbone of the coccyx. Put your attention into that and try to flatten the back again. So you don't have to worry about flattening the back too much because we're not going to stay very long. But put the attention into the tailbone and then start trying to make a wave all the way up the spine, front to back. So I have found for a lot of people that this is difficult to do. It's not difficult for me to do because I've been doing yoga since I was 18. And even before that, I watched Real Sex on MTV where they demonstrated how you could do this as a spinal warm-up to like warm up the Kundalini or something. And so I've been doing it since I was like 13. Fate groomed me to be the way I am. So try to do this. You don't have to worry about doing it perfectly. If you do it every day, you'll eventually learn it. Do it every day. This is really good for your whole nervous system. This is really good for your spine and your brain and your whole nervous system because the sacrum and the occipital bone, which is the back of the skull, are pumps to pump the cerebral spinal fluid up and down the spinal column. Inside the vertebrae, there's like a sheet with tons and tons of nerves in it, and all of the nerves have fluid around them. And the fluid acts like a coolant, but it also nourishes and repairs and stuff. And it's refreshed every 6 hours. So it's being produced by the spinal movement. And this movement's really good. It pumps the fluid up and down, washes your brain, and then goes down and out through the ganglia into the other nerves. I don't know if it goes all the way out to the body. While you're doing this, you can play with your body however you want. The hands can do whatever they want. The feet can do whatever they want. But try to get this movement in the spine. And when you're practicing on your own for a while, you can at some point shift to the top of the skull. So you're still doing the movement. You shift your attention to this top of the skull and notice how different this movement is if you're directing it to the top of the skull. It's a useful thing to differentiate and explore. This is all about exploring. It's not about doing it right or wrong or ever being finished and perfect in it. It's about living, and living is constantly exploring. So we're going to let that slow down and stop. Put the attention back into the tailbone and do that same spinal undulation side to side. Now it can be small. You can ground your legs. Again, if you turn your toes in, kind of open your knees a little bit and sit your butt down, that kind of gives you the ability to lock your legs into the ground, and you can lock your hips and just see if you can move the spine side to side without really using your hips. If that's too complicated for you, you can just make it bigger and use the hips. That's okay. But it's interesting to differentiate the sacrum and the tailbone and how they're not actually the same as the hips. For some of us, they're huge, so they're locked into place. For some of us, it's really easy to feel. Again, women tend to be much more in touch with all of their different stuff than men. Various reasons. But it's something you can explore. And again, once you do this, you can do it for a minute, 30 seconds, or 10 minutes. And when you can alternate between it and like put your attention to the top of your head and be like, how does this move if I'm moving it from the top of my head? How is the difference here? But eventually we're going to slow down and let it still. Put the attention back in the tailbone and go circle. Try try to let that circle go all the way up the spine. One of the things that helps me sometimes is imagining there's a little ball of light in my tailbone, and I bring that ball of light up and have that circular movement going at different parts of my spine all the way to the top. And again, you can do that thing where you put the attention on the top of the head and notice how differently it feels to direct this movement from the top of the head. And like the other movements, it can be big or it can be small. And I didn't say this at the beginning, but some of you may be wondering, which direction should I be spinning? It doesn't matter because we're going to stop, slow down, come to stillness, feel the spine, and then spin in the opposite direction. You can start with whatever direction you feel called to spin in, and then start spinning in the other. And again, the hands can do whatever they want, the face can do whatever it wants. This movement can be as large as you want, or as small. They're both very different things, and again, if you do this every day, or 4 times every day, or for 20 minutes, you can learn a lot of things about how your body works and what it feels like to play with these variables. Alright, so again, you can feel the bottom of the spine, the movement directed from the bottom of the spine, or the movement directed from the top of the head, and eventually we're going to slow down and stop. Now there's a whole other elaborate Qigong thing that comes after that that we're not going to do. That's a warm-up to something more complicated, but I love that warm-up. And one of the reasons I teach it at this point, which I forgot to do in the yoga video in this order, one of the reasons I teach it at this point is in a couple more movements, we're going to need this. So if you warm it up beforehand, you can get into it deeper when you're doing the second movement. This is going to come from. I'm trying. This is not the best place, but that's okay. It's pretty. Everything with Dominic is an experiment. Hi guys, check it out. You can kind of see my feet. It's kind of important you see my feet. Dominic, don't fall off the cliff. You're like, what are we supposed to do now, Dominic? Well, right after we did that wonderful spinal warm-up, people are like, hello, sexy. I missed the whole part about you being a sex object. Right after we have finished warming up the spine, we come to stillness and we start doing squats. Now, if your legs feel stiff, if you've already been standing too long, remember you can do this movement again. I'm going to stand up here for a second because I want you to see the feet. What the feet are going to be doing is you're going to go into a squat. You're going to come down as much as you're comfortable. If it's like coming down here, that's fine. If it's just coming down here, that's fine. If you want to come all the way down here, that's fine. But you're pushing down through the heel when you go down. The whole foot is on the ground, the weight's going down into the heel, and then still pushing up through the heel. But when the knee is almost straight, you come up on the toes. Again, I'm going to do it from this direction. You go down, the arms come up, you push back up through the heels, the arms come back. And then you stand up on the toes and open the chest, bringing the shoulder blades together. You may even push the hips forward a little. Could look like this. And you do that 9 to 18 times, let's say. This doesn't work either. Nice background, though, right? So that breathing thing I was talking about earlier, again, if you want extra credit, you can suck your belly in and inhale when you go down, and exhale and push the core out when you come up. You can stay breathing just through your nose, or you can use your mouth if you need to. But again, you do that 9 to 18 times, and part of the reason that we're doing that, I'm going to move the chair while I tell you this, because that was not a good place to do this practice. Part of the reason that we do that is, just have to do this. The bottom of the feet pump the blood. When you do that movement, they pump the blood back up into the calves. Caught a blackbird. And then you pump the blood back up into the glutes. These kind of function as a lower heart. It pumps the blood back up into the heart. The heart pumps the blood away from the heart. So doing this, you see it's working your feet, it's working your glutes, it's working your calves. It's getting your whole body moving, which is what we really need to do when we're being stagnant, sitting around the house too much. The movement that we do after this, which I didn't really like too much until I was here at the beach and I kept getting water in my ears, and then I learned like the real benefit of it. You bend over about 90 degrees. And again, if you find this is really painful, you might want to do a forward bend beforehand. Left that out. But you swing your arms and turn your head. That's the movement. You walk your feet, you maybe bounce your knees, you maybe wiggle your fingers, maybe even twist your wrists if you want. As complicated as you like, I like putting in all these little flourishes. So one of the things it's doing is twisting your neck and opening the eustachian tubes, and it's pumping all of the lymph from here. This is moving it up and down. Very important. Again, with a lot of stagnancy, this movement, you're pumping the lymph under here, you're pumping the lymph in here, you're pumping the lymph up here. Really good for health. You always want to just move with the joyous freedom. Always healthy for your body. The next movement is a standing spinal twist, but I've tried to include all of the fascia in it, which I think is much better. So, you reach up with the right hand, pointing the right toe, turning the right toe out, keeping the left toes pointing forward, and you look over your left shoulder. At the same time, you're reaching up with the right hand and down with the left hand. You're also twisting the left hand and the right hand. So this leg's twisting, this leg's twisting, these are twisting, and the spine and neck are twisting. And then you bring the right hand down, the left hand up, put the right foot down. And again, you do this 9 to 18 times. On each side. And you can do it as slowly as you like or as quickly as you like, although start out slowly. I already did this morning, but it still feels good. You may have just heard me belch. Qigong is really into the idea of belching. They think it's very healthy because it's you getting trapped air out of your body. So if you do these kind of movements and you feel like burping, don't be shy. Burp, fart, sigh, yawn, cry, laugh, sneeze, cough. It's good for you. Okay, after doing that 9 to 18 times, we go into this next movement, which has the spinal wave in it. So the hands come together, the back of the hands come together and up, and then rotate at the top down. So you've got this movement, you've got a little bounce in your knees, and a wave in your spine. And a happiness in your face, and a happiness in your heart. It's just so much better for your body if you're like, this is pleasurable, and I feel good, and I'm so glad that I can do this, and I'm not sick. If you think of happy things when you're moving your body, it makes your body happy. Or you don't even need to think of happy things if you know how to just conjure up the feeling of happiness. So you'll notice my hips come forward when my hands are down. And the wave comes up the spine. So we do that 9 to 18 times. And I usually go from that directly into this. And I make it look really easy, but let's take it apart really quick. You take the right hand and aim it under your armpit and extend it out. And as you'll notice, so armpits, under the armpit, extend the arm, twist. Under the armpit, twist. Under the armpit, twist. So you'll notice, I'm also using my legs, my feet, my smile, my hips, it's the whole body movement. Try on the left side. Again, you can lead with the index finger or all the hand, whatever makes sense to you. Just point it under the armpit and out. Under the armpit and out. And you know, there's a sensation of wringing the arm. You can put pressure into it to see what that feels like. It's not bad. But you can also just make it as soft as possible. You have all the time in the world to practice and play Qigong movements. Now again, try to do both at the same time, because if we're doing this and we come out of it, we can just go. So you'll notice there's a rocking sensation. Now, a lot of people, even when I first started doing this movement, this was not how it was taught to me. And I found it very difficult and confusing, which is one of the reasons I started doing it a lot, because I liked it. It's a version of silk reeling, chance to chin, it's fascia work. So if it's very difficult for you, keep taking it apart and give the mechanics, and let yourself sleep on it. Your body integrates a lot of, your brain and your body integrate a lot while you're sleeping. And then the next day, try it again, and it might be easier. So you do that for a while, as much as you like. And where I go from that, it's the same movement with the arms, but the feet ground. The feet ground, and again, tucking the tailbone down to flatten the spine is good, because we make this a spinal twist. So we go from this, see how I'm bouncing in the feet, into grounding the feet, and in this, watch, I take the hand under the armpit, but instead of sending it out, I take the hand and send it back. And untwist it. And take this hand and send it back. Untwist it. So you can go as deep in this. See, I'm turning a little bit more than 180 degrees. But, you know, whatever feels good for you, you can go like this. That's fine. You go with where you're at. Try to connect into it. Give yourself time to learn. Give yourself time to play. Give yourself permission to not need to be perfect. You don't need to do it right. You're just playing. Look, I have a body. I'm using my body. I'm moving my body. It feels good. And that, I guess that's where I usually end the little that's like the little warm-up I do. So just to recap really quick, I start with just loosely warming up the legs, warming up the arms. Just move any way you like, just moving the legs and arms. I tend to do this because I feel like it's fluid and I like the way it moves my spine. Then I go into this, and I do that for a while, and then I go into this, transforming it to this, making sure my core is engaged. Then I slow down and I warm up my spine. Sometimes I go very slowly, very subtly, sometimes I go very big. I go front to back, I go side to side, I go circle in one direction, and then stop and circle in the other direction. And again, there's a million other things. You can then do a forward bend if you like, and you can do it for a minute or two and really let the back open up. It's nice. Or you can do a whole bunch of other things. But that's good. And then you can go into the squats. So again, the squats are like this. Down on the heels, arms out, wrists limp, then the hands flip up. You open the chest, come up on the toes. 9 to 18 times. You go from that into bending forward, turning the head the opposite direction of the backward arm. No, the same direction as the backward arm. You turn the head, and you try to extend through the spine to make the spine long. Then you stand up, twisting the hands, twisting the legs, twisting the arms, twisting the neck, twisting the back. I always love sticking my tongue out. It helps release the fascia. It's really nice. So encourage it. And then that goes into this. So we go from here into this. Spinal wave, hips moving, knees bouncing, hands coming together in the back of the hands, rolling open, full shoulder movement, again, smiling happiness. We go from here into here, twisting to the sides, smiling. We do that for a while, we have fun and it feels good. And then we ground the feet and go back. Final twist. Just a very nice feet. Turning the wrist. Thought for some reason you might like to see me turn around. And then you can lay down or sit down or take a shower. I'm sweating now. It's really good that it brings up, again, it's pumping the lymph. It's getting the blood moving. So it nourishes the nervous system, it nourishes the lymph, it's good for the immune system, it's good for the digestion, it's good for a whole bunch of things. So again, that just, it takes 5 minutes, maybe less than 10, definitely. But you can make it go as long as you want, just doing those movements. You can play with them. They're really good for keeping your legs straight. They're really good for like keeping your balance, even though you're not specifically doing balancing poses. But I just highly encourage you to play with those, especially in this time of isolation. But again, most of us live indoors and stagnant most of the time anyway, because I've been doing this for years. And I say that to my massage clients all the time. So here's a nice cactus, San Pedro. Hi, San Pedro. This is the cliff. If you weren't here before, this is a beautiful view. Nice to show. Hola, mana. Hey, hola, mana. There you go. Got a nice wave. And we'll just show you again this beautiful beachy situation. I thought this might be a good place to do class down here, but it does not look like it's a good place to do class, so I'll have to do it up on the hilltop next time without the watery view. Hola! Oh no, sorry. aloha. It's very similar sounds. I don't know how long I have been videoing today, right now, but I think this is kind of enough. The sun hasn't set entirely. We don't have all the light gone. Oh, look, you can see my face because I'm just showing you the back of the hill, which is not nearly as interesting, but you can see my face better. Certainly is beautiful. I'm certainly grateful to be here, and I'm certainly grateful to share with anybody who is experiencing this with me, even though it's through a screen. I'm grateful to be able to share. If you feel gratitude and appreciation for these teachings and these stories and these views, it would be great if you sent me some money if you're making some. If you're one of the people that still has a job, I put a donations link because I can't give massages in the world of social distancing. The last thing I thought the world needed was more social distancing. I thought people were pretty isolated as it was, but my work is being close to people. And I can't do that right now, so we're doing this instead. And again, I have a donation link and it has something like 10 different ways you can send me money if you want to, if you like doing that kind of thing. You're welcome, Michael. Yeah, Michael, I'll live cast the sunrise other times too, just not every day. But I do like to do that because it's so beautiful. There are a couple recordings of it already. It's super gorgeous. So does anybody have any questions or desires or comments that I should see before I turn off this evening? Anyone? Anything you want to say? Anything you want to ask? Anything you want me to say? All right. I guess then I'll just let this broadcast for a few minutes. And I'll be quiet, I'll sit and I'll meditate, and you can enjoy the view. And I'll look again if there's any comments before I turn off the cast. Thank you, Mark. You're welcome. Thank you, Michael. You're welcome. Love you. I'm just moving this up because the sky is so beautiful. Beautiful colors coming in. Maybe I'll turn it over here. I'm sitting down to meditate for a moment, so you could sit down and meditate too.